In the past 40 years of China's rapid development, many new cities and districts have been built. However, these new cities and districts cannot remain new cities and districts forever, because time not only makes the new old, but time may also be the most important standard for testing truth. When I actually stood here, the scenery somewhat bewildered me. This is neither Hong Kong, nor New York, nor London, yet it is even more magnificent than Beijing's CBD and Shanghai's Pudong New area. But this place can only be admired from afar. If you look closely, it reveals a completely different scene. Therefore, the current state of this new district, which began planning nearly 20 years ago, fully demonstrates the importance of time. Nothing is worth worshipping. Rationality is the only correct choice in dealing with all matters. Now let's examine whether Tianjin's Beihai New area is still a new district. Let me begin by sharing my impressions of Ujiapa. Admittedly, the atmosphere here feels distinct, quite different from that of other typical, unfinished, development projects. If you understand the strategic importance that the Beihai New area holds for Tianjin, Beijing, and indeed the entire North China region, you can fully grasp why they made such bold and ambitious decisions back in the day. After all, even by today's standards, the Beihai New area's economic metrics still utterly dwarf those of its smaller counterparts.
嘿，这从贵阳到天津，居然有同样的即视感，是吧？我突然觉得在贵阳那个烂尾的未来方舟，好像，由大屋变小屋了，这是小巫见大巫啊！它这整个金融岛、金融区，几乎我觉得有2/3的楼啊，都是咱们不说的，至少有一半的楼都是一个半荒废的状态，还有1/3的楼就这种，它盖都盖好了，然后完全没有人入住的，也没有使用过。你看这个风格，我觉得至少有10年以上了，脏兮兮的。哎呀！原来我那年去拍那个天津那个117，好像也不算什么，除了高就真的不算什么。你看这应该是没有人，也不让上去，这草都长的，你看，对，满了，这就完全没人管嘛。你看这车就胡停。我们前面还有一栋烂尾的，被挡着了，没看见。哎呦，这还有车能上，这现在都6点了，天都有点要黑了。还能停车是吧？你看这楼里应该亮了1/10，20分之一的灯都不到。烤蜜薯，哎呀，这个好呀！这儿连这种外面的做小买卖的这种小车都特别少。
The current state of Xiangluwen does not appear to be a scene of utter desolation. People still go to work as usual, and after hours, they can be seen relaxing and unwinding. Come evening, it feels just like any other financial district. The only difference is that the crowds are a bit thinner.
我还头一次看派出所给自己打一个这个广告吗？还是什么东西？就是要宣传一下这个地方。 怕人家找不着还是？你说，哎，咱们不提这个烂尾楼啊，视觉上确实不太舒服。但是你说这环境，在这放个假，然后看看刚刚那个房子，这民宿普遍都是100以内，就是60、70，然后看的都不错。哎，你说住在这儿放个假是吧？但是确实没什么娱乐活动啊。你想吃点什么美食，可能也不太够啊。哎，小公园真不错，你看多好，在海河边上，这是海河吗？应该是海边上了吧？这是入海口。你看多壮观，各种摩天大楼作为这个背景，我觉得你们都得来一趟，放个假什么的，这何必挤到维多利亚湾去嘛？他们就该在这儿搞个灯光秀，每周末有个灯光秀，然后北京人就来这边看灯光秀，然后在海河中心放点烟花。你看这旅游嘛，对吧？北京人去哪儿？这多好啊！这弄点咖啡馆、高级西餐厅，这假装在维多利亚湾，想办法嘛，是吧？各种办法。
The very next day, as I stood in this riverside park, I felt, quite literally, as if I were standing in Manhattan. In that moment, it suddenly struck me, our capacity to marshal collective resources to accomplish monumental feats is truly unprecedented, a capability perhaps unmatched by any who have come before us, and one that may well never be replicated by those who follow. After all, it took Manhattan over a century of history to attain its current scale and level of vibrancy. Yet here, in the span of just a few short years, we have managed to completely replicate an entire Manhattan Island. Even if the interior of this island remains hollow, the sheer feat itself stands as an absolute miracle of human endeavor.
中环那边，但这有塑料布和鸟窝，就你一抬头吧。我觉得我在北京都没见过这种，没有这种气氛啊，就这么密的高楼。你别说，这个地方马路修得很认真啊，就是你在一些细节的街景上啊，看起来就跟那个特别成熟的街道。这个过街马路的这个灯啊，还有。
As I walked among these buildings, I even felt a sense of the same oppressive weight, the kind evoked by the skyscrapers of Hong Kong's Central District. Although I have yet to visit New York myself, I have certainly watched my fair share of movies set there. Nevertheless, I remain truly astonished by their ability to visually replicate the aesthetic of a global financial hub. I hadn't experienced this sensation even while wandering through Shanghai. It was as if even the seagulls here were playing their part in complementing the specific atmosphere they sought to project.
然后就在这个瑜伽铺这儿找了一间民宿，这只要70多块钱啊！你看，冰箱也有，然后洗衣机还有洗衣机，哎呀，真是，你说多新吧也不至于，但是这个价格确实非常的合适。但是这个风景就很屌，所以你在外面吧看的这些烂尾楼是风景，你在屋子里它也能当成风景。大概这些楼的作用就是这些吧，我觉得。 假装住在纽约那个曼哈顿岛，是吧？有那感觉了吗？脑补一下也可以是。
Perhaps the most compelling evidence of the ambition to transform this place into a Chinese Manhattan is the presence of the Juilliard School. Just as New York's Manhattan boasts a Juilliard, so too does this district now have one of its own. Although officials have offered a host of quite official justifications, such as culturally empowering Yijiapa to boost its soft power and drive up real estate values, thereby transforming the area from a singular economic hub into a comprehensive urban space suitable for living, working, and tourism, their fundamental, underlying motive remains clear: to mold this district into a peer of Manhattan itself. To sum it up using that same official parlance, credit must go to the leadership for daring to dream big and act boldly. Their sheer audacity is truly admirable. After taking a stroll around the area, I feel that the only structure truly deserving of the label, architecturally inspired, is this very Juilliard School. I didn't go inside to take photos. I figured they wouldn't exactly let me just wander around at will anyway. So instead I'll share a promotional video produced by the school itself. It's bound to be far superior to anything I could have captured.
你别说啊，这种建筑就是跟艺术沾点光的建筑啊，就是设计的会好看一些。只要你把这个建筑抽离于这个地方啊，它看着还是挺高级的。外卖骑士一经过，这个高级感荡然无存。你看这，哎呦，这个角度看这里确实是漂亮的，你知道吗？就是他们，特别是这个响螺湾对面这些高楼，你假装在纽约，你懂啊？你懂我那意思吗？我说这个茱莉亚为什么建在这儿呢？它也有这个纽约的感觉。哎，不错。
I feel that the greatest advantage of the Binhai New area is simply its sheer size. And because the area is so vast, every building here is absolutely colossal. Just look at this Binhai Cultural Center. I have traveled to cities all across the country, yet I have rarely encountered a single building that houses such a diverse array of functions. In terms of spatial design, this structure is truly a rarity, especially when compared to cities in China's interior, as it evokes absolutely no sense of confinement or claustrophobia. Consider Beijing, for instance. Despite its status as a world-class metropolis, it still lacks a single standalone building of this magnitude where you can roam about with such complete freedom. Perhaps only the New Century Global Center in Chengdu could rival it.
哇，可以，文艺中心，这个进来一下子就暖和很多，确实是应该有这么多。啊，这还有一个下沉美食一条街，这个就很好。你看南方就不需要这种大型的这种中心啊之类的。
I took a quick stroll around the complex, and I found that it offers essentially everything one could ask for in terms of dining, entertainment, and leisure. It is fully equipped to provide a whole day's worth of recreational activities for an entire family. One can easily imagine that, during the winter and summer months, this place serves as an absolutely perfect sanctuary, a welcome escape from both the biting cold and the sweltering heat. Moreover, it possesses a far greater sense of open space than a typical shopping mall, ensuring that visitors never feel stifled or oppressed.
就是人是真的少啊，什么都有，羽毛球馆在这中间。 麦当劳、肯德基、Tim Horton 都有，咖啡馆，这个科技馆也在这儿。美术馆也在这儿。这个楼里就是你反正干什么你就来这儿就行了。我不知道有没有超市啊，再把超市放这儿。
Not only does this cultural center possess a strong sense of design in its own right, but the library housed within it is equally striking. I had done virtually no research before my visit and had absolutely no idea that this place concealed a viral sensation, a library hailed as China's most beautiful library. Consequently, catching my first glimpse from the outside, seeing that massive sphere nestled within, was truly a breathtaking experience. A colossal sphere known as the Eye of Beihai merges seamlessly with the cascading terraced mountain of books. Although this library actually contains very few physical books, and strictly speaking, nearly half of its interior space is occupied by that giant sphere, I feel that we are truly in dire need of places with such a strong aesthetic sensibility. Cities should not be cookie-cutter copies of one another, otherwise, our lives risk becoming just as monotonous. That said, I visited at noon. It looks like coming in the evening would be an even more rewarding experience. Everything we've discussed so far has been quite grand, but something even more impressive still lies ahead. It wasn't until this visit that I discovered there is a National Maritime Museum located here. I even double-checked to make sure I wasn't confusing it with the Tianjin Maritime Museum. This is, indeed, the National Maritime Museum. It struck me as quite odd. I had never heard of it before. I suppose the Beihai New area has been keeping a bit of a low profile. Before I arrived, I held a persistent impression in my mind that China was strictly a continental nation. However, as I wandered through the area, I suddenly came to a realization. With a coastline stretching 18,000 kilometers, we are, of course, a major maritime power as well. It is simply that for the past few centuries, we largely maintained a policy of national isolation, and that is how the perception of us as solely a continental nation came to be formed. Known as the Forbidden City of the Sea, this site spans 15 hectares with an exhibition area of 23,000 square meters and a collection of over 42,000 artifacts. It has now been open for nearly 7 years. The building itself was designed through a collaboration between Chinese and Australian teams, centered around the theme. In the northern darkness dwells a fish, born to face the sea. For long, white, streamlined structural units are interconnected via walkways and a central hall, forming a layout of 4 distinct pavilions. Extending from the land toward the ocean, the design symbolizes humanity's quest to explore and bridge the gap between terrestrial and maritime civilizations. The exhibition content ranges from the ancient oceans to China's modern maritime history, and even covers contemporary marine technology. Perhaps due to the sheer scale of the museum, it also features bonus sections, reminiscent of a science and technology center, including a space exploration hall and even science fiction-themed displays. Just look at these aliens. They likely hold even greater appeal for children than the museum's other exhibits. This institution functions as a general interest museum. As such, it serves as an excellent resource for gaining a broad overview of China's maritime history. However, if you already possess a comprehensive understanding, if not an encyclopedic knowledge, of Chinese history, the sense of novelty offered by this museum may not feel quite as intense. Therefore, my overall verdict is this: while it may not be particularly breathtaking, it is absolutely a fantastic destination for a weekend family outing with the kids.
这是真的古城啊！不知道从何说起，反正就是看到地图上这有一个我就来了，好像也不收费，不收费那咱们就进去转转吧，看着还行是吧？像那么回事。我觉得这城楼要是放在古代啊，怎么也能防一阵子兵吧。这旁边这个有点矮啊，架个梯子就上去。不过不重要啊。现在的这个古城嘛，就是你要像就行了，像都很难。
Finally, I also discovered that the Beihai New area boasts an ancient town of its own, Beitang Ancient Town. This place actually possesses a genuine historical pedigree. During the Jiajing reign of the Ming Dynasty, in order to defend against Japanese pirates, Beitang constructed 2 artillery forts, one to the east and one to the west, which became historically known as the Beitang Twin Forts. In the late Qing Dynasty, Beitang gradually established a comprehensive military defense system characterized by interdependence between land and water, integration of artillery and barracks, and mutual support with naval mines, thereby forming a strategic pincer formation in conjunction with the Daegu forts. In 1900, the Eight-Nation Alliance invaded China. Following the fall of the Daegu forts in June, the Beitang forts were besieged by the Allied powers. The Qing troops and Boxer warriors garrisoned at Beitang totaled fewer than 3,000 men. Yet, facing a formidable enemy, they fought a bloody and desperate battle for 3 months, ultimately becoming the very last military installation to fall to the Eight-Nation Alliance. After 1900, the Beitang forts were completely dismantled. Of course, what we see today is a reconstruction, albeit one reportedly built according to the layout of Beitang during its Ming and Qing dynasty heyday. However, it is also a project that was abandoned and left unfinished before its completion.
哇，还有健身房，看看，健身器材。这浪费了啊！你看这种老民国时候的商业街的感觉，其实搭的还是味道还是可以的，就是完全没有，这不可能有游客来嘛，对吧？这门还开着，弄得还挺干净。还有戏楼子啊，这戏楼子旁边应该就是卖的楼的那种，卖不掉了。哎呀，这种就喜欢逛这种地方，一个人都没有。你看这个饭店招牌还挺有味道的，这原来还台球室呢。台球室开到这儿，有人来打吗？嚯！感觉还真有人哈，你看。这会有人来这儿打台球吗？我实在是，哎，这大牌楼，这做的挺好啊，这比那个大庸古城可认真啊！你瞅瞅，这但凡是真的有商铺在这儿云集是吧？它是个有点味道的地方。你看小广场弄得还挺好， 这要在什么南方的成都那边就喝茶了是吧？你管你有没有历史呢？先喝茶为敬。这小院儿多好，而且看起来也不是那种粗制滥造的建筑，估计这立个几十年一点事儿都没有。空空荡荡的古镇，多有感觉啊！你们拍那个古装剧是吧？这条街完全够用了，稍微打理一下。这个民国的，这整挺大一楼，还有这个，还有护城河，还能把大门把桥给吊起来。我在外面看还以为是个西式城堡呢，看那个角。你有见过这样的？这是个西式的城堡，这桥是真能吊起来呀！这一点都不像中国的城堡吧？你看，啊，这一点不像中国的古城。这得花多少钱啊？修个城，我去。
While the financial city within the Binhai New area has yet to be fully utilized, the scene in the old district of Tanggu bears absolutely no resemblance to, or connection with, the very concept of a Binhai New area. These neighborhoods remain frozen in time, looking exactly as they did at least 40 or 50 years ago, much like many small towns across northern China. Beijing, too, once had many such residential compounds. However, given that Beijing's appearance is inextricably linked to the city's, and indeed the nation's, image, those compounds have all been given at least a cosmetic facelift. Here in Tanggu, conversely, there was previously no impetus for change, and now there is simply no capacity to bring it about. It is quite conceivable, perhaps even probable, that these neighborhoods will persist in their current state for another 20 years or more. Yet, in a way, this also serves as a testament to just how durable the housing constructed in the past truly was. If we look solely at the Yijiapa and Xiangluowen districts, one might be tempted to think that the Binhai New area has fallen into decline. However, after enduring a slump lasting 7 or 8 years, the Binhai New area has actually returned to a growth trajectory. This resurgence is largely attributable to advancements in high-end manufacturing and the expanding influence of policies promoting new quality productive forces. In fact, if you were to visit the Binhai New area in person, you would discover that its physical infrastructure is truly beyond comparison with that of an average city. Leaving aside Yijiapa, which bears a striking resemblance to New York City, you can visit the Binhai Cultural Center to experience what is widely considered the most beautiful library in the country. Right by the seaside, there is also the National Maritime Museum, which offers free admission. Furthermore, the area boasts a variety of attractions, including polar ocean parks, amusement parks, a historic district, numerous commercial complexes, and beautiful, newly constructed residential communities. Consequently, my outlook on this place is not nearly as pessimistic as one might expect. Unlike the hopeless, abandoned construction projects I have documented in the past, the Binhai New area is a different story. Economic downturns cannot last forever, and the Binhai New area is poised to embrace new opportunities. Indeed, the fundamental importance of the Binhai New area has never truly diminished.